Hi guys, you're welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to show you guys how I made this straight gown or kaftan gown for a client. So it's a straight gown that has no dart. This one has pattern on the sleeve. There is also overlap slit at the back, and I've made something like this, but not this style. But I've made a kaftan boo gown before on this channel. So hi guys, my name is Fatima Yusuf, and on this platform I share sewing tutorials. If there's something you like to learn, let's get to it. Don't forget to subscribe before getting to it. So I've cut out my client's length twice, like I normally do for Ankara fabric. I folded it, is 2 pieces. I folded each, give it a good iron press. So now this one is the back piece. I'm going to mark 5 inches. Why am I marking 5 inches? Because I'm using the gown is going to have an overlap slit, not just a slit, the overlapping one. So I used 5 for mine. You can use 6, 7, but 5 is actually okay. So I drew that 5. Then this is the front piece. I'll place it starting from that, my 5, just the way you normally do when you're using your zipper allowance. So this 5 inches for zipper and also for overlap slit. So I aligned everything, and this was what it was given. I went ahead to draw my border line where all my measurements is going to start from. Right after doing that, I measured my shoulder divided by 2, my client shoulder divided by 2. I marked that. Downward, I went down 9, right? So after 9, I went down to 18. That's the waistline. Then I went to 24, the hip line. So you have your bust line, your waistline, and your hip line. Then under my bust line, I imputed my shoulder divided by 2 again, and I joined the 2 points with a straight line. So that's what I did here. After doing that, I'm going to mark my client's neckline measurement. I'll be using 4 inches for the width of the neckline. It's going to be a round neckline. And also for the depth, I'll be using 3.5. Also I'll be using 3.5, so I'll just sit down to form my curve, right? So since there will be a zip, the back neckline will be 2. It's not going to be that deep, but if you want it deep, it's your choice. Like I always say, your neckline measurement depends on you or your client's preference. You want it deep, you make it deep. They want it not too deep, you know what to do. So at the shoulder part, I marked 1/2 inch for my shoulder slope or my shoulder slant, so I used my ruler to mark that. I went back to the armhole length again, and then I found the middle. I marked the middle, and then inward I marked 0.5 inch. I'll be able to form my armhole curve for the front piece. So that's what I'm just doing here. Find the middle, mark it inward. I'm going to mark. I was just cross checking, and I marked 0.5 inch inward. So I'll be using that to form my armhole curve. So now on my bust line, I'm going to calculate my client's bust measurement I'll divide it by 4, and anything I get, I'm going to mark it. So I'll just use that to create my armhole curve, right? So that's what I'm trying to do here. So this tutorial is not full. I lost the part of the video because I made this guy a very long time. So I think because of space, I deleted it unknowingly, and I'm so heartbroken about that. But I always make it easier and understandable for everybody. I'll try my best. So after drawing the curve, right, all this parts is something that you'll have known if you've been watching my video for a very long time. So now on the bust line, we have our bust divided by 4, right? Then I'm going to add ease allowance. I was thinking about adding 2. You can add 1. I add 1.5, right? But like I said in the first one I posted, 1.5 is actually much. You can add 1 inch for your ease allowance, and you add 2 inches for your sewing and then the allowance. So now you add 3 inches instead of 3.5 that I did. So on my waistline, I went to divide waist by 4, and I'll be adding ease allowance again. I added 1.5 then 2, but please don't add 1.5. It's going to be too much. You can add 1 inch is okay. Some people tend to add 0.5, but that will still be fitted. So 1 inch will make it free. But if you want it to be like boo-boo, very, very free, you can use 1.5. But you want it a little bit fitted, use 1 inch, then your 2 inches allowance. Then on the hip, also this same thing, divide by 4. Then I'll be adding my allowance, right? So that's what I did here. For the hip, I added 2.5. Then I added plenty on the hip, because you want that hip to form that shape if you want it to form the shape. So I went ahead and just joined the 3 points together with my ruler. When I'm done joining it, then you make sure that the angle formed at their waistline is not pointed. Please make it curvy, not sharp. And then from the hip to the end of the fabric, and the angle formed on the hip also should not be sharp. It should be curvy. So now I'll go ahead and measure what I have on my hip line, right? My hip divided by 4 plus additional 4 or 3 inches. Then I'm just going to take that to the down part of my fabric, and I'm going to mark that all through from that my hip to the end of my piece. That's what I'm going to do. After marking it, I'm going to join it with the points I marked. I'm going to join with a straight line. If you have a long ruler, you can just take it straight down. You just mark the points at the down part, then just your long ruler to just join them. So I just went ahead to use my own short ruler and I'll just join them with a straight line. And like I said, the point on the hip line should be curvy, not pointed. So we are done around this side. Then I'll go to the back piece. I'm going to mark the neck depth I want for my back. Like I said, 2 inches is okay to form round neckline. Then on that my 5 inches that I marked, right, the allowance, I'm going to mark 2 inches for my zipper allowance. I'll mark it. Then I'll go down to my waistline. Instead of 2, I'm going to mark 1.5 to remove zipper bulging. So I'll mark 1.5 there. Then I'll go to my hip line. I'm going to mark 2 inches. So I'm joining the 2 points together. So you see from your waistline, it's going to be slightly to meet the 2 inches up, slightly down. So that's what I'm just going to do here. So I mark 2 inches at the waist, at the hip line. Then at the borderline I mark 2. Then at the waistline I marked 1.5 inches. So I'll just join it like this, right? Then from the waist to meet the hip. Then now after the hip, I'm going to go down to the end of my fabric. I'm going to measure how long I want my overlap slit to be. So I'll go to the end of my fabric and measure 22 inches. So the gown was because I made it since was a fully lined gown. So 2 inches with it going inside. So I'm measuring 22 because I'll still be folding in some allowances inside. My lining will help me do that. So I'll just mark that 22, and on that 22 I'm going to mark 2 inches again, and I'll just take it straight to meet from my hip line to meet that where our 22 is starting from. So you mark 2 and then take it with a straight line to just join the 2 points together. So we've removed zipper bulging, right? So that's how I drafted this gown. I'll just go ahead and cut out the piece. So it's the same thing with what I did with my kaftan gown that I once posted. It's just that one had pleats and this one has overlap slits. So that's just the difference. So I'll just go ahead and cut all through. Then you pay attention to how I cut the back piece side. You can see I'm cutting those off, and when I got where my slits will start from, I did not cut I left the 5 inches at the down part, right? I hope you understand it. So I'll just cut off the rest. So the excess will be cutting off. I know people that will see this, they'll be like, I'm wasting fabric, because they actually said that in the first one I posted, but no, I'm not wasting fabric. You see this excess, I'll use it to create my patterns. You're creating pleats, you can use it to create pleats. So they have use, they are not waste. So I'm done drafting. So I'm going to cut out lining for each. You follow the way you cut your piece, you trace out on lining, but you reduce the length of the lining by 2 or by 1, depending on if you want it fully lined or you don't want it fully lined. So I reduce the length of the lining, and then you have to slit the back open. That overlap slit, I think I did that in the front. So I'll just open up my front piece and I'll place my lining on it. So you're doing a fully lined gown. This is how you do it. You place your lining on it. So you're stitching the down part first because you need to take in some allowances. So you don't stitch the neck first. You stitch the down part. So that is going to pull up or pull in some part of the Ankara fabric. Then you stitch the neck, then you stitch the sides. If you cover your armhole, you cover it. So this is the back piece. You see I'm slitting the pleats. The slit, not pleats, open. So I did same thing for the back piece also. That's the stitching part. So I'm done stitching the front. I'll just notch the neck area, go to turn it out, give it a good iron press. I did same thing for the back piece also. You stitch the down before you stitch your neckline, then your sides, right? So this is the back piece. This is how it looks. Then now the front piece, I'll just go ahead and join it together. You measure the allowance you'll be removing. And then I remove 1.5 inch for the zipper allowance. I didn't let her use 2 because we're already taking in a little bit while sewing. So I just decided to use 1.5. So now you mark that 1.5. And what I normally do is this is how I stitch my back pieces. From the beginning of the neckline, I'm going to measure downward if I want to use 20 or 22 inches or 23 inches for my zipper. I'm going to mark it. Then, so that marking, I'm going to use a loose stitch to where my zipper is going to stop. Then the rest I'll use a tight stitch. So now you see the way I stitch, right? I didn't stitch it straight down. I went inside to where our overlap slit is, right? So good. So you use your hemming tape to tape it down. you give it a good iron press, and then you can restitch one. You stitch it the way it overlap like that. You just stitch on it. I have a skirt that I made an overlap slit. I'll put the link in the description box so you get to understand overlap slit more when you watch that. So I've done that here, and I've added my zipper. So I'll just go ahead and join the shoulders together. I like to actually stitch my zipper before joining the bodies, because I feel like I'm comfortable with it before, instead of doing it afterwards. So I'll just join my shoulders together, right face facing right face of each fabric. The ankara will face each other, the line will face each other. You just stitch 0.5 and you turn it out. You have a neat result like this. So now back to the sleeve, right? I told you guys I lost the clip. So from the excess I had, I cut out the shape I wanted. This is it. These are the shapes. I place it on my hairstay and I will just use my iron to gum it together. Then I will still use the ankara fabric to stitch this right face facing right face. Then I will notch the part that's the SD, and then I'll notch a little bit in the middle. I don't have to turn it out. Not all I use the ankara for back and front. Some I have to use lining for back and front. So you see there are two. I'll just stitch, then I will notch the middle and I'll use that to turn it out. When I was done, I went ahead to stone. You know, just place your stone, place your iron on it. And then, like I said, I used lining for some I used the ankara fabric for back and front. I used over 40 pieces of pattern for the sleeve, and I didn't fully put the pattern. So this was the sleeve before. It's just a very simple sleeve, a straight free sleeve, a kaftan sleeve. You just make it draft your straight sleeve, but it's very free, like boo boo. We can call it a boo boo sleeve, just a very straight sleeve. There's no any curving, no any shaping. It's just a straight sleeve, depends on the wideness you want. So this was it after I was done stitching the pattern. I unstitched it to it, and then I gave it to a beader that did the beading of the body, and you can see the back overlap what slits, and you can see our zipper. So I unstitched the patterns to the sleeve just with needle and thread, and I did it in such a way that it will be at the front piece, as you can see, not the side, the front. So I used over 40, and I didn't fully put the patterns, but you can as well fool the sleeve with the patterns. It's also going to be nice. So that's how I made the gown. I wish I had the sleeve part, because that was what people wanted more, and I didn't even video myself when I was unstitching it. I didn't. But I hope this video is helpful in one way or the other. So please don't forget to subscribe, like my video, and then drop your comments, and I'm going to see you guys in another video. Bye.